Hello all, welcome to Homeschool. And today we are with the topic control and coordination in plants. So far in my previous videos we have discussed control and coordination in animals, and let us see how it can work in plants, right? Mainly, plants do not have a nervous system, isn't it? They do not have a wiring system to pass the information from one part to another part, right? So plant body is a very simple body, not that very complicated body as that of humans, right? So very simple things can happen in plants, right? For the growth and maintenance of plant body. First and foremost, what you have to remember is control and coordination in plant can be achieved by certain hormones. Okay, we call those hormones are plant hormones or phytohormones. Okay, so just like the hormones in humans, we have certain hormones in plants, right? We call them as phytohormones. So the very first point you have to remember here is control and coordination in plants is achieved by plant hormones. Okay, very important topic, plant hormones. What is the other name for plant hormones? It is phytohormones. Phyto is plant, okay? Phytohormones, right? So what do these hormones do? They actually maintain the growth of plant body. Growth of plant body. We have various types of phytohormones that can be produced inside the plant body itself. Okay, and let us discuss those types in detail one by one. And before going for the discussion of different types of plant hormones, I wanted to tell you that, say, in humans, hormones were produced in one part, they travel through the blood to another part where they will show their duty, isn't it? So who is carrying the hormone from one part to another part? Blood is carrying. But in the plant body, you don't have so-called blood, right? So who will carry these hormones from one part of a plant to another part of a plant? They just go with the process called diffusion. Okay, say imagine you have a plant, right? Say this is some plant, and this is the topmost part of a plant. Here the hormone has been produced. Just imagine here the hormone is produced where it should reach here. So how will it reach from this position to this position? Just by the process of diffusion. It diffuses like that only. Okay, there is no one to carry the hormone from this part to this part. They just traveled with the process called diffusion. Okay, so keep this in mind. And now let us try to discuss the different types of plant hormones, okay, or phytohormones. They are, first one, auxins. So these auxins are the plant hormones produced in plant shoot. What do you mean by shoot? The topmost part of a plant is called plant shoot. Okay, so in that area this particular auxin is produced, right? And what is its function? Function of the hormone auxin helps in growth of a plant. Okay, so usually helps in growth of shoot or stem. Okay, shoot in the sense this topmost buddy part of a plant. That area is called shoot. So it helps in the growth of shoot. If shoot grows only, no, we can say that plant is growing, right? So auxin is the hormone that helps in the growth of a plant. Particularly, it helps in the growth of shoot or stem. Okay. And the next type of hormone is gibberellins. Next type is gibberellins. Okay. So gibberellins helps in growth of stem area. Okay. Whatever stems and branches are there, they also have to be grown. Only then you say the plant is growing. Yes or no? So leaf has to grow, stem has to grow. So gibberellins are the hormones which helps in the growth of stems. Okay, and this hormone is also responsible. Very important point. Responsible for increase in size of fruits and flowers, right? So gradually when the flower starts appearing or fruit starts appearing, the size of a fruit or flower increases slowly. So that means the flower is growing, the fruit is growing, isn't it? So for the growth of fruit and flower, which hormone is responsible, guys? Gibberellins are responsible. Okay, so almost the duty of auxins and gibberellins are same. Both are responsible for the growth of plant body. Okay, whatever may be, it may be a shoot or it may be a stem. Got it? Fine. And the next type of plant hormone is cytokinins. Okay. So cytokinins helps in cell division. So this hormone helps in cell division. Yes or no? The cell have to divide into many cells. Only then the size of a plant can get increased. Right? So who is there to divide the cell and increase the size of a cell? It is cytokinin. Okay? Got to know? And you know, even the plant body also should stop growing at certain age or after certain years, isn't it? It should not keep on growing. Say you observe a plant, when it is small, it grows very fast, but after certain years, you know, the growth becomes very slow, or the growth may get stopped finally, isn't it? So who is there to stop the growth of a plant finally? That is, you know, we have so-called abscisic acid. Okay. Abscisic acid. So abscisic acid inhibits the growth of plant. Okay, so it inhibits the action of auxin and gibberellins. Auxin and gibberellin, what do? They help in increasing the size of a plant, right? So this abscisic acid will inhibit, it suppresses the action of auxin and gibberellins. Okay, so it will help in stopping the growth of a plant actually. Got to know? That is what we mean by inhibits the growth of a plant. And this abscisic acid helps in wilting of leaves. Okay, so you observe during certain seasons, like especially during summers, all the leaves will fall off, isn't it? That's what we call wilting of leaves. So which hormone is responsible for wilting of leaves? That is abscisic acid. Okay, so this is all about the phytohormones which are responsible for the growth and maintenance of plant body. Got to know? So what are the different phytohormones we have studied? Auxins, gibberellins, cytokinins and abscisic acid. And you must know which hormone does what work inside a plant body. Okay, and next we are going to talk about certain movements that can be observed in plants. You don't observe a drastic movements in a plant body. So no plant cannot move from one part to another part, from one place to another part. So those movements are not there. But still, here the plant can move, right? A plant can move in the form of a height. It can grow its height, yes or no? It can grow in size, isn't it? Its leaves can move. This is what the movements mean here. So about these movements, let us discuss in detail. Guys, there are two types of movements in plants. Okay, so they are, first one is growth dependent movements. Growth dependent movements. In other words, we can also call it as movements due to growth. They are nothing but movements due to growth. Yes, so when a plant grows, what happens? You can observe a movement in its growth. It grows in a single direction. It grows in the upwards, isn't it? So that is also can be considered as movement here. Growing of plant body in its size, in its height, can be considered as a movement, isn't it? So this movement, it doesn't happen in front of your eyes. You can't see this movement, but it happens within a plant system, so that height can be grown automatically. Clear? So such movements are called as growth dependent movements, or the movements due to growth. And the other type of movements is growth independent movements. Growth independent movements, which we also call it as nastic movements. Nastic movements, sudden movements, or in other words, I can say sudden or immediate response, right? For example, touch me not plant here. Touch me not plant. Have you ever seen this touch me not plants? Definitely everybody would have experienced this. If you touch any one of the leaf of a touch me not plant, the entire leaflet will shrink, isn't it? That is what we mean by immediate movement, right? This movement doesn't depend on a growth. Okay, there is no growth at all in this movement, right? That's the reason it is called as growth independent movement. And now let us discuss both types of movements in detail. Coming to the first variety of movement, that is movements due to growth. In other words, it can also be called as tropic movements. So how do you define a tropic movement? Movement due to growth in response to the stimuli. Okay, so what do you mean by the word in response to the stimuli? Even if growth has to happen, due to the growth, if you want to observe a movement in a plant, there should be some stimulus means some change in the environment. Okay, so here stimulus may be in the form of stimuli, or stimulus is in the form of light, water, gravity, chemicals, or touch. Okay, so whenever you change a light, like stimuli in the sense what? Change in the environment. Okay, so you will observe a growth only when you supply some amount of stimulus to the plant. Okay, stimuli may be in the form of light, water, gravity, chemicals, or touch. Okay, so only when you have stimulus in any one of this form, then only you will observe movement in plant. Okay, so this movement actually signifies, or this movement is actually a sign of growth, guys. Okay, so this movement you can't see with your naked eye, like moving thing you can't see, but ultimately you will observe a large change in the growth. Okay, so that is what we call movement, right? So these movements are nothing but a signs for, this is a great sign for you, for we people to tell that the plant is growing. Okay, so how do you know that plant is growing? Because of these movements that are happening within, right? So when do you see these movements? You see these movements only when you give certain amount of stimulus to the plant. Stimulus can be given in the form of light, water, gravity, chemicals, or touch. Okay, so there are different types of tropic movements actually. So all the different types, let us discuss one by one. Okay, first let me mention all the different types of tropic movements. Different types of tropic movements. Different types of tropic movements. The first one is phototropism. Phototropism. Second one, geotropism. Third one, chemotropism. Okay, and the next one is hydrotropism. Hydrotropism. And the last one is thigmotropism. Thigmotropism. Okay, so photo in the sense light, like to observe a certain moments, you need to give sunlight to the plants. Plant will bend according to the sunlight. Plant will grow according to the sunlight. Okay, the movement is all because of the sunlight. Then such movements are called phototropism actually. Right? Geotropism, geo in the sense gravity. Say if you give stimulus in the form of gravity, you observe a movement in a plant, that is growth in a plant, right? Such a movement is called geotropism. Chemo in the sense chemicals, plant move due to the chemicals also, and the hydro is water. Growth of a plant or movement in a plant can be achieved by giving a stimulus in the form of water. Okay, so that is called hydrotropism. And thigmo in the sense touch. What do you mean by thigmo? Touch. Okay, so due to the touch also, the plant can grow. Let me discuss this in detail. Okay, so these are the different or the 5 types of tropic movements. Let us discuss them in detail. See, what do you mean by phototropism? It is a movement in response to sunlight. Okay, in other words, I can say that bending of plant, movement in the sense bending of plant body in response to sunlight. In response to light or sunlight. Okay, you can just observe the picture there. See, from the window, the sunlight is coming. So when you place a plant near a window, all the stems will start moving. Their direction is changed, isn't it? So the direction of the stem is towards the sunlight. See, the stems are not straight. They are bending towards the sunlight. Even the sunflower plants, when you see, they move wherever sunlight is there, wherever sun is there. Isn't it? So this kind of movement, say this kind of bending stem area towards a light is called phototropism. Okay, so that's the reason I told you it is nothing but bending of plant body in response to light. So usually which part of a plant will bend towards the sunlight? The topmost part, that is shoot part, stem part, isn't it? Do root part will bend towards the sunlight? Will they get exposed to the sunlight? No, right? So what we say here is, observe these sentences very carefully. Shoot of a plant. Shoot in the sense what? The stem area. Okay, the stem part of a plant is positively phototropic. We say it is positively phototropic. Just observe the word I have written here. Positively phototropic in the sense bends in response, bends, or I can say bends towards a sunlight, towards a light. Okay, and another sentence I will write here, observe carefully. Roots are negatively phototropic, negatively phototropic. Okay, this meaning is very important. Negatively phototropic in the sense roots are not moving towards the sunlight, isn't it? So wherever sunlight is there, in that direction the roots are not moving. Roots are not to be seen only, they are deep down under the soil, isn't it? So what is the words we have used here? Positively phototropic in the sense what? This part of a plant. Which part of a plant? The stem part or the shoot part of a plant is bending towards a light, isn't it? So actually this part is showing that phototropism. That's the reason we use the word positively phototropic in the sense this part of a plant body is actually responding to sunlight. It is bending wherever sunlight is exposed, wherever sunlight is moving, right? Whereas the root part is not having any business to do with sunlight. It is somewhere deep inside, right? It is not attracted to the light. It is not, the root is not bending towards the light. It is opposite to the light. That's the reason we say that the roots are negatively phototropic. Right? So this is what important. Definition is important, and also which part is positively phototropic and which part is negatively phototropic. Right? Fine. And coming to the next type of tropic movement, that is geotropism. So what do you mean by geotropism, guys? Movement of or just movement in response to gravity. Movement in response to gravity. Okay, bending a plant part towards a gravity. So in other words, in a simple term, what I can say that bending a plant part towards the gravity. Okay, gravity in the sense what? Ground. So which plant part is positively geotropic and which plant part is negatively geotropic? Can you be able to guess here? The roots are positively geotropic. Yes or no? Roots are always in the direction of gravity, right? Whereas the shoot is against the direction of gravity. Right? So out of odds, the shoot is coming out, escaping the gravity, the shoot is coming up. Okay, shoot is growing up in the sense what? It is against the gravity. Okay, so which is a friend for gravity? Roots, they are in the ground, isn't it? So that's the reason. What are the 2 points you have to remember here? Roots are positively geotropic. Okay, whereas the stems are, or the shoot part is negatively geotropic. If I write like this, it is negative. Okay, negatively geotropic. You can observe the picture there. Whenever a seed germinates, okay, you get a small shoot, you get a small root. You can see the root is going towards gravity, right? So that's the reason I said root is positively geotropic, whereas the shoot part, you see, it's going up against the gravity. It's going against the gravity, right? It is escaping out of gravity. So I say the shoot part is negatively geotropic. Clear? So this is about the geotropism. Next, hydrotropism. Hydrotropism. What do you mean by hydrotropism? movement in response to water, like moving a plant body wherever water is there. Which part of a plant body moves towards water? Roots, isn't it? So roots require water. Actually, water enters into a plant body through roots only, right? So that's the reason roots are always attracted to the water. Roots will always move in a direction where water is there. That's what we will call it as hydrotropism, right? So what I can write here is roots are positively hydrotropic. Roots are positively hydrotropic, whereas the shoots are negatively hydrotropic. Where you can't say, even we spray water for the shoots also. Say some amount of water can enter through leaves also, isn't it? Through stomata. Say, but normally if you generalize, comparing to the roots and shoot, who will move more randomly towards water? Roots only, right? So that's the reason we said roots are positively hydrotropic and shoots are negatively hydrotropic. But you have an exception here. Some of the leaves take up water, they move towards the water, water enters through the stomata into them. Okay, but as a general factor we can say this. Clear? This is what about hydrotropism. And the next one is chemotropism. So what do you mean by chemotropism? A similar way, movement in response to chemicals. Yes, say for example, shoot area will move in response to some chemicals. Root area will move in response to some chemicals. We can't say shoot is positively chemotropic and the root is negatively chemotropic. It depends on the situation. Okay, at some situations, say for example, roots and all are exposed into a soil where soil will have chemicals, say so many minerals and ions are there, where the plant will take up those minerals and ions. In that case, roots are actually moving into the chemicals, isn't it? Say the roots are bending in a direction where chemicals are there. In that case, I say roots are positively chemotropic actually, isn't it? So in the similar way, at certain situation, even shoot also take up some ions from environment. That way the plant body moves in a direction where chemicals are there in the environment, isn't it? So here we cannot generalize that this is chemotropic and that is chemotropic, positively chemotropic and negatively chemotropic, right? Just try to remember the definition. So chemotropism in the sense movement in response to chemicals. And let us discuss the last and very important type, thigmotropism. As I already told you, thigmo means touch. So what is thigmotropism? Movement in response to touch. Movement in response to touch is called thigmotropism. You can observe a picture there. See, there are certain creepers, right? So what do these creepers do? They take a support, climbers and creepers, especially the climbers. Say if you keep one object as a support, it will move around that object, right? So wherever the object is there, in that direction, the climber will grow in its height, isn't it? So without an object, it's very difficult for them to move actually. So definitely when you give some support, they can grow very nicely, they can move very nicely, right? So such a movement, we call it as thigmotropism. So where it is observed in climbers. You can very nicely see it in a picture, right? The tendrils and all, like they are taking the support of one object. So movement, in other words, I can say here, the movement is shown movement is observed when an object is kept as a support, isn't it? So such a movement is called as thigmotropism, right? And usually which is positively thigmotropic and which part of the plant is negatively thigmotropic? The stem part, isn't it? So only the stem part will move in a direction wherever object is there, wherever it is getting in touch with the object, isn't it? So I can say the stem is positively thigmotropic, and the roots are negatively thigmotropic. Okay, roots are deep down in the ground, isn't it? They don't require any support for their direction of movement, right? So here the tendrils or stem part, they require wherever touch is observed to those cells of a stem, in that direction, the cells will grow or the stem would grow, isn't it? So such a tropism is called thigmotropism. So with this, we have completed the growth dependency. All these movements are the signs of a growth. They are not just the movements. See, in the form of a movement, actually the plant is growing in its height, it is growing in its size, isn't it? So these tropic movements are growth dependent movement. Clear? And now we will go for other types of a movement, other different category of a movement, that is growth independent movement. All this we have discussed: thigmotropism, chemotropism, phototropism. All these are growth dependent movements, right? Now we are moving to growth independent movements. Growth independent movement, that is sudden movement due to stimuli. Okay, stimuli, especially what type of a stimuli? Touch. Okay, for example, if you can remember the touch me not plant, you will get the picture what I meant to tell you. Touch me not plant, you can see the picture there. The moment you give a stimulus in the form of a touch, all the leaflets are moving, they are getting shrunk, isn't it? So such a movement is called as growth independent movement. Yeah. So what is actually moving here? See, one thing you observe, he is actually touching the tip of a leaf, but the entire leaflets, the one which are not in touch with the skin of a person, is also getting shrunk, isn't it? That means this is a proof that the information or some signal is passing from one leaf to another leaf, right? So information is getting passed. So in this movement, what you can observe is, there are certain chemical signals passing from one part of the plant body to another part, just like in humans. But in humans, those chemicals are carried by blood. But in a plant body, you don't have any blood. Chemicals are just diffused. They go like that only from one part to another part. Right? See, one leaf he is touching, but the entire leaflet is getting closed. Other leaves are also getting closed, in the sense the signals are actually passing from one area to another area. Okay, and what happens here is, whenever the information is passed from one area to another area, the water content present in the leaf will change. That's the reason ultimately the shape of a leaf is changing. Okay, so what is happening here? Whenever a stimulus in the form of a touch is given, say I'll mention in a point wise, whenever a stimuli is given, here stimuli is in which form, guys? Touch. Stimuli is in touch. Okay, so what happens is, shape of leaves changes. Shape of leaves changes. How it changes? It actually shrinks. Okay, and this is due to change in water content of the leaf. Change in water content of the leaf. Okay. Say for example, imagine this is a leaf of touch me not plant. This is how it actually has a compound leaf, isn't it? What do you mean by compound leaf, guys? So many leaflets would be there, right? And the moment when I touch this leaf will shrink, and all these leaves also will shrink one by one. That means information is carried away from this leaf to another leaves also through chemicals. Okay, just like in the human body, but chemicals would be passed in the form of diffusion only, right? And the moment you touch this leaf, water content of the leaf changes. Maybe the water comes out of a leaf, so that leaf shrinks. Okay, and the information goes to this leaf also. The moment information goes to this leaf, water content is lost in this leaf and it shrinks. And the later information goes to this leaf. The moment information goes to this leaf, water content in this leaf is lost and it gets shrunk. Like that, all the leaves, see, you are actually touching this leaf, but these leaves are also shrinking in its size. It's because they are losing the water content. Who is telling them to lose the water content? Maybe some information getting passed from this leaf to another leaves also. So this is how we can come to know that even in plants, the signals or the things can pass from one part of a body to another part, but it happens in a simple way. They don't have wiring system to move the information, to take the information from one part to another part, isn't it? So information just like that with simple chemicals, it can be passed. So here, why do shrinking takes place is because the change in the water content of the leaf, isn't it? So that's all about the nastic movement, that is growth independent movement or sudden movement due to stimuli. Clear? Immediate movement. And that's all about control and coordination in plants. I told you, plant body is a very simple body, not as complicated body as humans. So we have very few things to discuss about plants actually. So one is main thing that does in a plant body for growth and maintenance is hormones. And after that, because of the growth, some movements are observed, and sudden movements which does not depend on a growth is also observed. So this is all about the movements. Okay. And with this, I am successfully completing the chapter called Control and Coordination. Very interesting chapter. Only thing is you have to keep 100% concentration and study it. Until and unless you understand every concept, every meaning of the word, you don't get that interest to study. So pay attention and listen to the video lectures very carefully and try to understand the chapter. Okay, so we will meet up with the next chapter. Till then, keep revising the concept. If you like our video, please like, share and subscribe our channel to learn the concepts in a detailed way and in an easiest way. Thank you.